Welcome to the second video of the Rideau Valley Wildlife 2020 Virtual Open House. If you haven't seen our last video, we did a tour of the inside of the facility, and you can check that out on our Facebook or our YouTube page. This time we're going to be doing something a little bit different from our typical open house. Because we need to limit the human contact of our outdoor animals to keep them wild, no member of the public is allowed out the outdoor cages, so this is a real sneak peek. But since we're going virtual today, we can go down and take a look at where our older animals stay, but we'll keep our distance so as to not disturb them. Once weaned from formula, animals are moved outside to provide more space for them, get them used to the environment, let them gain weight, as well as develop their natural and wild instincts. The sanctuary is built on 25 acres of land, so we have plenty of room for outdoor enclosures, and all of our outdoor enclosures were funded through the foundation grants as well as volunteer labor. The first enclosure that we see here is our squirrel enclosure. Before we bring them outside, we combine some of the single squirrels into litters so that they can get used to each other before we bring them out. We do this so that they learn to be squirrels and can all be released together. We have 20 separate cages for groups of squirrels, each contain about 5 squirrels. We try to do our best to provide them with an enriching environment and vary it every few days so that they're used to their environment upon release and it sparks their wild instincts. We place nesting boxes inside the cages as well so that they get used to using it as well as sleeping in it, and it's familiar to them when they're released. Upon release, we catch all the squirrels, which can be a very hard job, into a nesting box, and then we secure it tightly. This is an example of a nesting box right here. So basically, at the release site, the box is secured in a tree, and the flap here is flipped down so that they can come and go as they please. There's also a safety hook right here holding the lid on, and a ledge inside to protect them from their predators. Most squirrels will leave the box and come and go as they please, but they'll eventually leave it and create their own nest. They might use it for a little bit longer though as well. It just depends on the squirrel. They can also be used to store food. Right here behind me, you can see that we have a single weasel cage. It currently houses 3 weasels that are about juvenile in age, so they'll be released within the next month or so. Currently, they're eating plenty of raw food, which they love and just absolutely devour as soon as we put it in, as well as some dry and wet canned food. Interns clean the cages and replace the food and water once a day by using a small trap door that we have on each separate cage. They replace the seeds and nuts as well as some fruits and veggies, and we make sure to give them plenty of water. Next up, right behind me, we have our outdoor raccoon enclosures. There are 14 enclosures which usually hold a litter of about 4 to 6 raccoons. Because raccoon litters are quarantined from each other to prevent the spread of disease, these cages are specially built to prevent the contact between litters, and they ensure easy cleaning and disinfecting. We actually have a bucket in front of each cage which contains equipment for that cage and that cage only. Just like the squirrels, we group raccoons together to be released outside together. Studies showed that it can take up to a month for released raccoons to choose a proper territory and habitat, which may include moving around to establish a reliable food source. So we try to get them as fat as possible here before we release them, just to increase their chance of survival. Each cage has trees for climbing as well as a hanging cage for sleeping, and some cages even have some rope swings with tires hung on the end of them. Each day we give them different puzzles to provide environmental enrichment. On Tuesdays, we do a big destruction day, which we give them big cardboard boxes that we've gotten throughout the week, and they can just kind of tear them up and have a lot of fun in their cages with them. Here we have the cages that house our skunks, porcupines, as well as our groundhogs. As mentioned in the previous video, we got a group of 9 orphan neonatal skunks. This is them in their outdoor enclosure. You can oftentimes find all 9 snuggled together no matter how hot it is. They like to be right beside each other all the time. We named some of the animals that we get in, especially in big litters like this, just so that we can keep track of each individual animal within the litter. And since this was such a big group, we decided to go with Snow White, Prince Charming, and the 7 Dwarfs. Skunks, when they get put out, need either straw, hay, or some dry leaves to be placed on the ground, just because their pads are very sensitive and so they need to walk on something a bit softer. We also give them a bucket of dirt for them to just dig around in and play in, and some trees for enrichment. Each day they're cleaned at least once and they're topped up with their food, which is dry food as well as canned wet food, and of course their water. The groundhogs have a similar setup, so they also need a big bucket of dirt because they love to dig, and then they also get trees for enrichment as well as their food and water. We also have 3 juvenile porcupines that are in a taller cage so that they can climb all day long. Their cage has an abundance of trees that they can climb up as well as branches. All the way back here is our Coyote and Fox Enclosure, which was newly built in 2018. It currently houses 3 juvenile foxes. To prevent escape, the enclosure has a wire roof and underground wire as well. Foxes are very curious and playful creatures, so we often see them jumping around and playing together. Their natural instincts are currently developing at this point. They're digging burrows, catching small prey, and they are afraid of us at any time that we enter the cage, which is a good sign. Thank you so much for joining us, and we hope you enjoyed this exclusive look at our outdoor enclosures as well as our older animals. If you have any requests for virtual programming, topics you'd like us to cover, or if you have any questions that you want answered about the facility or any of the animals, please leave us a comment. We also rely entirely on donations from the public as well as grants. Sadly, this pandemic has had a significant impact on our funding. Our expenses have increased over the summer because local business donors have had to close their doors, and we've had to redesign our workstations to protect our workers. That being said, we would greatly appreciate it if you considered making an online donation. The link will be in the description of this video. Thanks guys, bye!